Although cities are somewhat safe to an extent, even cities and towns can be just as dangerous as the darkest dungeons. In this video, we've gone over 10 encounters that can happen in a city to spur on the creative imaginations of GMs who might be watching this video. And at number 10, we have the Guard Harassment encounter. This one is very easy to set up and can be applied to pretty much any city. Basically, the adventurers are cornered by a handful of guards, usually 1d4 plus 1. And these particular guards are eager to throw their weight around and just want to harass people for fun. Now, the problem with this encounter is that if the guards are threatened, they will call out for help and might attract the attention of other guards or even citizens nearby. So, this creates a tricky situation. If the characters respond in a hostile way to the guards' harassment, this could put them in a negative standing with whatever city they're in and cause all kinds of problems which might result in them having to flee the city, even though technically the characters are not in the wrong. Generally, a city will take the word of their guards over brand new adventurers who just showed up. Alternatively, it gives the characters a chance to flex their social skills, and maybe talk their way out of the encounter without resorting to hostilities. Or it could even be a tie into another adventure plot, where you rout out corruption in the city. Whatever the case, the characters will have to treat this encounter very carefully, because one wrong move could get them kicked out of the city. And this is a classic encounter in the city, which is even one of the options that can be rolled off of in the official DMG. And at number 9, we have a fire breaks out. This one is pretty straightforward. The adventurers are walking down the city when a fire breaks out in a nearby shop, house, or other establishment of your choice. Seeing as most campaigns take place in an era before cell phones and instant communication, chances are a fire that breaks out randomly is going to cause some damage before it's able to be put out. So this gives the characters the choice of organizing some way in order to help put the fire out, or creatively using their items and spells in order to put it out themselves. There are a lot of spells in the game which don't really see too much use in combat, but are pretty useful in situations like this, and it really gives the characters a chance to actually use some of their abilities and spells in unconventional ways, which is definitely helped along as long as the DM is very flexible in what they're allowed to use in order to put out the flames. Like maybe allowing an ice knife spell or other cold damage abilities to put out small swatches of fire, allowing the use of the gust cantrip to put out minor fires, and of course having a create or destroy water would be absolutely king in this situation. The characters can also choose to just ignore the fires if they want to, so it might be best to find some way to reward them for actually helping out. Maybe gaining a contact within the city, gaining favorable reputation with the citizens, maybe someone calls out for help inside as they're trapped, or just have the place belong to an important NPC. Putting out a random fire is another classic encounter that happens in a city, and is also one of the options listed in the official DMG. And at number 8, we have a simple ambush. The setup. A man or woman is trying to lead the players into an alleyway because they tell the adventurers that their friend has been hurt and needs some help. When the characters are lured into the alley, that's where the thieves will ambush and attack, trying to rob the characters. This is an easy way to have some combat in the middle of a city, in case you're looking for random encounters that actually deplete your character's resources, as they can safely attack the ambushing party of thieves without getting on the bad side of the guards like you would in the guard harassment scenario. And the official monster manual has some pretty beefy thieves you can pick from, ranging in all kinds of CR ratings. At low levels, you're best off with just the bandit. At higher levels, you can even pick the assassin. And at very high levels, the players will just have an easy encounter they can deal with pretty quickly, which is usually pretty fun for high-level characters, as there is some enjoyment for players in easily dealing with an ambush of thieves. So there's no need to really challenge high-level players with mega thieves. Alternatively, it can also just turn into a social situation, where they try to talk the thieves out of it if they roll high enough. But mainly, this is an encounter you use if you want there to be some combat, and it almost never feels out of place in any city you might throw this encounter into. Now, seeing as we have a bunch of random encounters, I can't think of a better sponsor for today's video than the new Atlas Battle Maps and Encounter Cards Kickstarter. The Kickstarter includes over 100 fold-out maps with great environmental art and are dry erase, so you can draw and clean away easily. And also, some of the encounter cards, which are incredibly detailed with what goes into those particular encounters, including suggested monsters to fight for almost every level, in addition to them being corresponded to some of the maps to better use some of the encounters. Of course, you could also use some of these maps for the encounters in the city that you might find in this video. Having foldable maps that are pre-gridded is just very convenient for tabletop play, as it saves you lots of prep work as a DM while also giving you cool looking maps to play on, which are rather big too. And if you're an early backer, you even get an exclusive pin of Moon Boy. So make sure to go check out the Kickstarter, link will be in the video description. The maps and encounters look great, and it's very fitting for a video like this. Now, to continue on with more encounters in the city. And at number 7, we have the corpse discovery. The setup. The adventurers find a humanoid corpse. It could be in a random alley they're trying to take a shortcut through, could be in the middle of the road. Whatever the case, they find a random corpse, and then what they do is entirely dependent on how you want this situation to go. One of the options is the players could just take this as an opportunity to find out what happened. They can flex their investigation skills, maybe get use out of the Speak with Dad spell in order to find out what happened immediately. This could just be the setup to a murder mystery, one that is entirely optional to opt in, as the players can just ignore it if they want. Alternatively, finding a random corpse could lay suspicion on the adventurers, as they might have to talk their way out of not being arrested by the local guards, which can then lead to them trying to find out what happened in order to clear their names. And at number 6, we have the Pickpocket Scenario. The setup. The adventurers are walking through a dense crowd, when the most perceptive party member notices that something has been stolen from the least perceptive party member. The characters will then have to chase a thief through the city, and upon catching the thief realize it's just a small child. Then you just leave it to the characters to decide what to do next. Do they turn the street urchin over to the local guards? Do they provide financial assistance because they feel bad for him? Or if you know your party are murder hobos, maybe they don't find a small child and just a sympathetic older individual, and the encounter is simply about rewarding them for having a good passive perception skill. As players do like it when DMs give them scenarios which allow their stat choices to shine, rather than the DM only putting things in which goes against their weaknesses. Not all of the scenarios need to be some grand adventure. Most of them are just small things which help fill out the world and give small nuggets of agency. Although this scenario can be comboed with the next spot pretty well. And at number 5, we have the chase through the city encounter. If, for whatever reason, you need to chase someone through a city, like maybe someone stole from one of your party members in the previous example, what you can do is use the chase rules from the Dungeon Master's Guide in order to catch up to them. Now, a chase sequence basically follows the rules for combat, but has a couple of differences. Everybody rolls initiative like normal, and at the start of combat, the DM determines how far away the person you're chasing is from the rest of the party, which is called the quarry. Usually you want the quarry to be somewhat far away, so the party has to at least use a single dash to get somewhat close. And a few other changes are, there are no opportunity attacks from any of the participants in the chase. Each participant of the chase is only allowed to use the dash action 3 times total, plus additional times equal to their constitution modifier, before they need to roll checks to do any more of them. There is a complication after each player's turn, which affects the next person in the initiative order, and at the end of every round, the quarry is able to perform a stealth check to try to get away, assuming it was able to break line of sight of the lead pursuer, and rolls higher than all the pursuer's passive perception scores. So, pretty simple changes from normal combat. It basically limits the amount of times you can use the dash action at all, and removes opportunity attacks from the equation, so you can't just get right up to the quarry and then knock them down with opportunity attacks since they obviously have to run away. And because of the limits of the dash action, if the chase sequence turns into a marathon, eventually someone is going to start getting exhaustion and have to drop out of the chase because they just can't move anymore. As each time you try to perform the dash action after you've exceeded the amount you're allowed to for the chase sequence, you have to do a DC 10 Constitution check, otherwise you gain 1 level of exhaustion if you fail. And this is a Constitution check and not a saving throw, so no proficiency bonuses. Now, the DMG has a table for what kind of complications happen before everyone's turn based on being in an urban environment, which is perfect for this list. Some of the complications are simple things like moving around a large obstacle that's blocking your path, which requires you to succeed in an acrobatics check, otherwise you lose some feet of movement due to it becoming difficult terrain. Or even something as attacking you like a pack of dogs or an overzealous guard who mistakes you for someone else. And there's a chance that nothing happens if you just roll above an 11 on the d20 for the complications table. But since everybody has to roll for complications at the start of each of their turns, this is what really sets a chase sequence apart from a normal combat order, as failing too many of these complications could make you lose too much speed on your quarry and you just can't possibly catch up. Or it could allow the quarry to slow down so that you can catch them easier. And then the chase sequence ends once the party members are able to capture the quarry, or if they're able to succeed the stealth check at the end of the round, which they have advantage or disadvantage on depending on the table found in the DMG as well. Although the DMG doesn't really specify what catching the quarry means, as I'm pretty sure they left that vague on purpose. So this could mean just succeeding a grapple check on the quarry, or just having everyone in the party outrun them to the point where they just stop running to try to fight instead. How you catch the quarry is kind of up to the DM, as you could even make it as simple as just a game of tag, where the first time someone's able to touch the quarry, the chase is over. In this case, you should probably have the quarry start the chase over 100 feet away, Whatever the case, a chase sequence in the city is supported by the official rules in the DMG, as they only give a complications table for an urban and wilderness setting. So right out the gate, it's perfect to add to pretty much any game in a city as long as you just have the Dungeon Master Guide. And at number 4, we have the Bad Nobleman encounter. The setup. The players are walking through the city when they see a noble who is berating a peasant who bumped into them, and is ordering their guards to whip the peasant as punishment. This encounter is solved easily by just ignoring what's going on. However, depending on the alignment of your party, certain flaws and bonds they might have are just backgrounds, someone in the party might try to intervene, which will cause all kinds of problems or all kinds of roleplay opportunities as you really have to talk your way out of this delicate situation. Depending on the noble in question, this could get you into a whole bunch of trouble with the city, like in the guard harassment scenario, or if one of your party members has a silver tongue, an easy contact with the nobleman, while also saving a peasant from an unfair beating. Or if you have a party of murder hobos, a justifiable reason for them to get into combat with some guards and a noble, although they might have to run away from the city afterwards. This whole situation is basically a play on the characters' morals, and you could incite them to try and do something other than ignoring the situation by reminding them they might have a flaw in their character sheet or bond, which might cause their character to react to this particular situation. And then you can reward them for playing up their flaws of their character by granting them a point of inspiration afterwards. And speaking of gaining rewards for interacting with the encounter, at number 3, we have a beggar asking for gold. The setup. The players are walking through a city or through an alleyway, and an old beggar comes up to them and hands the party for some gold. Either a minor amount or a medium amount, but almost never an exorbitant amount. If the party members give the beggar something, they can receive a blessing, as it's actually a fey creature in disguise. But if they don't, and are particularly rude, they can receive a curse instead. Obviously, the party members can ignore any negative situations by just ignoring the beggar, while not being overly rude to them. But if they do interact, and spare in a few gold coins, they might receive a decent buff. The Dungeon Master's Guide has a section on other rewards, more specifically the Charm section, which is full of buffs that are helpful to have, but not completely game-breaking either. Like the Charm of Dark Vision, which allows the user to cast the Dark Vision spells in action with no components, although only 3 times before the charm goes away. Or the Charm of Feather Falling, which gives them the benefits of the Ring of Feather Falling for 10 days, which basically just stops them from dying if they fall from a high place automatically. There's also a list of charms from the Adventure module Rime of the Frost Maiden, which are given by the Chewingas, that can be used as extra examples of minor charms you can give for this kind of situation, like the Charm of Snowball Strike, which allows you to throw a snowball 5 times as a bonus action that deals a little bit of damage, or even the Charm of the Traveler's Haven, which allows them to cast Liamid's Tiny Hut 3 times for free. This situation is just a nice way to reward the players for being good, although it shouldn't happen every time they give gold to a beggar. Just the one time is probably good enough. Because how many times are they really going to come across a hag that's in disguise that's begging in a city and isn't trying to murder everyone? And at number 2, we have the Rampaging Animals through the city scenario. The setup. The players are walking down the city when they notice a whole bunch of wild animals rampaging through the city. Turns out some of the animals in the local zoo got loose, and if not stopped, they might cause some real harm to the people or property. The way the players can solve this encounter is just by subduing the animals, ideally non-lethally. That way they can be safely returned to their captivity. This is just another way to give a combat to a city environment without getting them arrested by the local guards, as it could also be a creative way to allow a druid to see some non-conventional animals, assuming the animals escape from a more exotic zoo. Or it could allow some of your characters who might have some animal-related proficiencies and abilities to interact with the animals in order to get them to stop rampaging without any combat. And it will have them be careful about their abilities to not kill the animals. Although don't punish them too harshly if they do end up killing just all of them in order to stop their rampage either. This is another classic encounter to have in a city, which definitely seems like it's out of left field, but is not entirely out of the question in pretty much any normal campaign either. And at number 1, we have the Mysterious Potion Shop. The setup. The players enter a mysterious potion shop that sells nothing but unlabeled potions. When they talk to the shopkeeper, they offer them some wonderful deals on all kinds of potions and maybe even a magic item or two. If the players are suspicious or ask any questions, the shopkeeper will deflect any kind of questioning and will not give a straight answer to the legitimacy of the business or any of the products. If the characters leave the potion shop, the entire shop will just disappear entirely, and they won't be able to get back to it. This encounter just sets up an easy way to allow characters to buy magic items if you want to give them the availability of magic items in whatever city they're in, without having to justify a small hamlet village having these rare items on sale. It's just a mysterious shop which shows up and vanishes at random locations. Of course, you could also just make it so that everything that is sold in the shop is cursed in some way, since the whole thing does come off as incredibly shady. There is no real win-loss scenarios with this encounter. It's just a justifiable way to allow the party to actually buy magic items or potions, but it can also be easily incorporated into the story by just making the shop owner being an important NPC that's reoccurring. Or even the big bad evil guy in disguise who's just using the shop as a way to spy on the progress of the player characters for whatever reason. This scenario is not exactly better than all the other options on this list, however it is a pretty useful one that also doubles as an encounter. So I just kind of had it at the top for the sake of having a number 1. This list doesn't really need to be a top 10, so just think of it as 10 encounters in a city that you can probably add to your campaign.